So our guest then is Caroli Omondi. He's the MP for Suba South and currently the chair of the Constitution Implementation Oversight Committee of the National Assembly. He'll tell us what this committee is all about and what it's been doing. But karibu sana. Yeah. So answer that first question. The technicality bit. What would you go for if you were defending even defending yourself?
Ah, that's a good one.
Good Lord. No, generally in law, other than the substantive issues, procedural questions matter. You see, we have the fair hearing concept in our constitution, but we also have fair administrative action. So if you're engaged in any exercise that affects the rights of another person, the procedure is as important as the substance.
Okay.
That is the law. Yes.
Procedure is as important as the substance. And that's why the Maraga court in 2017 said, go back to that election.
Yeah, actually the 2017 presidential election was nullified not on the basis of the votes, because I think Uhuru won it by the widest margin, 1.4 million. It was because IBC did not comply with procedural requirements.
Right.
That was the reason.
That was it.
Yeah.
Karibu sana. Janet is going to welcome you with the day's quote. She will give you some words that were said by somebody, and let's see whether they make sense to you today.
Today's quote is by Binyavanga Wainaina, a Kenyan writer, an author, a journalist. And he once said, "The thing about our generation is we are not afraid. We may fail, but we will fail loudly." What do you make of that?
It reminds me of a famous saying by the gladiators, the old gladiators of Rome. In fact, it is now the motto of Special Olympics, the paraplegics. That Lord, when the gladiators entered the ring to duel with the lions, they would start by saying, "Lord, let me win. But if I do not win, let me be brave in my attempt."
Nice.
I like that.
I think the whole issue is what he's saying is it is better to try and fail than fail to try.
Wow.
Yeah.
Go for it.
Go for it. And even if it doesn't work out, it doesn't...
Be proud that you did.
Be proud that you did.
Yes.
Which I was just telling Mariam and Eric, I don't know that we're good at that as a country. Sometimes leadership, it's so difficult to say, we didn't get this right. But then Mariam posed the question, do we have the grace to accept if leadership says we didn't get this right?
Actually, failing is not bad because you learn from failure.
Yeah, it's failing forward.
If you fail fair and square and fairly, then there's nothing wrong with it.
Agreed.
Yeah, I think procrastination, lack of attempt is a worse crime.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right.
Oh, no, I was just saying, my worry was for our leaders, because Jen was saying, even our leaders need to be honest about failure and be open and say, I tried and I failed. And I said, do we give them the grace to come and say, I failed?
Yes, I think good leadership should acknowledge failures. I think so.
But
Does
do
the
citizens
electorate,
do? If you as Caroli Omondi today, as a member of parliament, as chair of CIOC, came out and said, you know what, we have failed in some areas, do you think people will be like, at least he has admitted, and now he's talking about, people will be like, ata mwenyewe amekubali, he can't do this job?
Yeah.
Of course, if you look at our debates in the House on the various issues, we acknowledge failure, or we preempt failures. When we are debating issues, at least if you're an honest legislator, you'd contemplate failure. Say this may not work, this proposal may not work because of ABCD. But if you've implemented it and failed, there's nothing wrong admitting it has not worked. We'll adjust. Yeah, it is. Yeah.
So now, 15 years after we gave ourselves a constitution.
Yes, I knew you were setting me up.
Massaging you into
Yes, I
has
knew.
it failed or not?
I knew that.
Have we implemented this constitution in the way that we set out to implement the constitution?
Now, I would like us to look at it in two ways. The legal and the non-legal aspects of the constitution. The constitution is not just about legal provisions. Strictly on the legal side, you can look at weak implementation. We've experienced that. There are certain provisions that we've not fully implemented, or we have not implemented at all. So there's weak implementation, there's non-implementation. Then when you go through the Constitution, sometimes there's misinterpretation of the Constitution, even by the courts, by the way. And then there is the fourth element, which is also very prevalent. Sometimes some provisions are not easily understood. Maybe there was a problem in drafting. And in fact, there are some provisions, the most notorious one on 2/3 gender, which disappeared at night, the sunset clause, which has created a lot of problems, and we'll discuss that. So those are the legal side. So when we talk like a constitutional implementation oversight committee, we are going to do an audit of the Constitution. So we are going to audit the legal side, what has not been implemented, what we've not implemented well, where the conflicts are, and what has been misinterpreted. But there are other areas that you can call the heart and soul of the Constitution. National values and principles, Article 10. These speak to governance, and there's political governance, and there's economic governance. Even the business you run here is regulated by the Constitution, if you look at the values in the Constitution and Chapter 12. So we need to look at how we have implemented these values. That's more of both a political question in terms of governance. Do our courts work? Do our executive work? Do our parliament work? You know, the two houses. We need to look at that. Then there's the question of nationhood. Is Kenya embracing those values and coming out as a nation since the 2010 Constitution was enacted? Or are we still tribalistic, ethnic, and the rest of that? And then we go further to the most fundamental one, the economic question. Has the Constitution enabled the economy to work for many and not the few? That has been the case in the past. So we need to look at the Constitution in terms of putting money in people's pockets. You see, when a lot of politicians speak about the economy, they'll tell you we've brought down inflation, we've maintained the exchange rate, we've stabilized this and that. Those are peripheral matters.
You want to talk to John Buddy, talk to him directly.
No. The most important thing in the economy are the incomes of the people. That is the question. Have the incomes grown? Are people better off today than they were before 2010? That is the question. If you look at any economic data on the economic performance of a country, the first thing you'll see is income per capita. That's what they see. They don't tell you how inflation was controlled, what the exchange rate is. It's the income per capita and life expectancy, which is also a function of income. So we need to look at our Constitution as it delivered the economic dividends it promised. And finally, we also have to look at the cost of implementing that Constitution. Do the structures embody the principles and ethos of Chapter 12? The financial principles. So those are the issues that we are going to work on as a committee. We've put the concept together. We are still selling it to the House. There are very rigorous procedures. And then it will be very participatory, very open. And then from there, we will then come up with a program as a country on how to strengthen our Constitution.
But what about, even before we get there, we've also been asking a few people this week, it's about ownership and whether you feel that Kenyans feel like they have ownership of this Constitution, or whether there's a sense that it's elite-driven, that it was, you know, put together and is driven and amplified by what some might say elite voices, or do Kenyans, in your view, fully understand and own this Constitution?
I think Kenyans fully understand this Constitution, and they love it, and they embrace it, and they defend it. Because of the long history. Some of us have been in this space for quite a while. If you look at some of the old Weekly Review stories around 1991, you'll see pictures of some of us calling for multipartyism, calling for justice. In fact, one of my friends, Ahmed Nasir Abdullahi, carried a big poster with a big afro. I remember that picture. You guys call him Taliban. When we were young, and then we got into workspace, there was clamor for constitution, a new constitution. We started working with politicians. I think Kenyans love their constitution and they are proud of it. The problem is, it is being undermined by mercantilist politicians. Elite compromises that are short-termist in nature, that are not intended to fulfill the aspirations in the constitution, but to deal with short-term political expediencies. So the problem is not with the people. What I've learned in this country, if the leadership is responsible and is moving in a certain direction, the people follow. I saw that in 2002 when we all rallied behind President Kibaki, whom I believe was the best president Kenya has ever had. I worked with him. He was a very accomplished gentleman, fairly straightforward, and didn't deal in a lot of the way we know our politics. But that time, you could see, you could feel. I think Kenya was voted the happiest nation. And people were united.
Yeah,
but why did that dream fail within 24 months? Because opportunists who had nothing to do with that struggle crept in. And Kibaki's ill health and a few other issues allowed them to completely break down the NAC dream. And some of them are still alive, though they're out of politics, and we know them.
And they're proudly walking around and talking about the Constitution.
We know them.
You say mercantilist politicians and people who just have no interest in the long-term well-being of the country, but just looking at short-term. You were there when we were writing this Constitution. When we were actually discussing this particular Constitution as a draft, going into a referendum. You were assistant to the then Prime Minister, Raila Odinga. They say that the first draft from the Committee of Experts, the revised harmonized draft from the Committee of Experts, going into Parliament, going into Naivasha. Naivasha, things happened, right?
Yes.
As somebody who was right there observing the kitchen, is it true that things happened in Naivasha?
What happened, this 2010 Constitution, though, is a product of many years of struggle. There had been early attempts to have a new Constitution. My former boss, Attorney General Emeritus Amos Wako, actually had prepared a new Constitution for Kenya when I was working under him in the office of the Attorney General, which was a hybrid Constitution. There would be a president, prime minister, more or less the French model. He had prepared that. But that also failed. But not a lot of people knew that. And then, after the 2007 fiasco, I was intimately involved in the Serena process. So the 2010 Constitution is actually a product of the Serena process, Kofi Annan-led Serena process. And the guidelines were very clear because the process was being driven by a very impartial panel at Serena that involved both sides. What happened afterwards was that there were two scenarios. There are those who wanted a presidential system and those who wanted a parliamentary system. But remember, we had also had the Kilifi draft, which had been scuttled. So there was also some raw material of a constitution there. So the compromise, it was not even a compromise, really. What happened in Naivasha, I'll give you a few examples. And let me first give you the background. By the time we were going to Naivasha, there had been some political undercurrents also emanating from Serena. There was the ICC question.
Yes.
So the ICC question had brought in new alliances into the political mix. So when we went to, let's say, though we shielded the constitutional review process, we drafted a law, I call it a vehicle without a reverse gear. We shielded it from a lot of forces. The committee of experts then presented the two alternatives. But now what happened in Naivasha, I'll give you just an example, the counties. The experts proposed 14 counties plus Nairobi. But when we went to Naivasha, the group that was now coalescing around the ICC issue, and somewhere in ODM, somewhere in TNA, whatever it was at that time. PNU. It was PNU. Opted not to go with the 14, but to go with the old districts. And if you understand Kenyan politics, the old districts that were existing favored certain areas. Because it is the president who used to declare the districts. So they declared that, and MPs refused to work actually. They didn't want to scratch their head hard enough. So they said, we will take the districts as the counties because it favored them. Yet, then we knew very well, like from Raila's side, if we presented pure presidential system as our option, they were going to go, yes. If we presented parliamentary, they would go for presidential. Yet parliamentary system was the one that was most fair and just for Kenya, even with devolution, because it would equalize opportunities for most people. But there were those compromises. Not a problem. You can have a pure presidential system. There are those who felt, okay, voting will always be by ethnic blocks. Yeah, if it's a presidential system, we start with an advantage. But what they missed, they had more constituencies. They would still start with an advantage. But the focus was presidential. So that is now water under the bridge. We have a presidential system of government. It is working with its limitations. So, but there have been those compromises,
I was going to ask, I'm driving straight to amendments because, again, it's been on my mind this week. I'm like, let's
land it, Jano. Let's take it there.
Take it straight to amendments. I had two questions, but one is if there was any amendment, if any, that would make a difference to ordinary Kenyans, which one would it be? If there was one amendment as you look at the Constitution that you're like, maybe this one.
No, there are very many areas we are going to look at. One, we still don't have a law on public participation. So that is one of those areas that we have not implemented. The Constitution talks of public participation, but there's no law on public participation. So we need that law.
Why have we had no law on public participation?
I cannot answer that question. I've only been in Parliament for 2.5 years.
Yeah. You've been intimately involved in this process, like you said.
You see,
from an observer point, and now that you're in Parliament.
When I was Chief of Staff, I was in charge of Agenda 4. So I would go to Parliament and check what was going on. But I left in 2013.
As an observer, Caroli, you know, because you've now come to Parliament and you've also spent time just trying to understand what the 11th Parliament, the 12th Parliament was doing, so that now you can build onto it with the 13th Parliament. Why have we not had
I can't say
a law on
that,
public participation? Has there been such a conversation in our politics?
Yes. Actually, the Attorney General has now made a proposal working with Parliament. We now have a draft, which as soon as we go back on 22nd, we'll be working on. But you see, the parameters are now being set by the judiciary, mainly in case law. Yeah, but why it took so long, I cannot explain. Maybe there were other priorities, I don't know.
So that's one thing that you say.
Yes.
We have not fully implemented the Constitution.
There we have not done anything. And there are other areas which, if you read the Constitution, you'll find. The other one, we've not dealt with the question of 2/3 gender parity. And you see, there's an opinion by the Chief Justice that Parliament should be dissolved. Now, there are very many fundamental questions on that issue. As I said, the original contemplation in the Constitution, if you look at the raw material, women rep positions were not supposed to be permanent. They had a sunset clause of 20 years. And as I've said, when the Constitution was being printed, somehow that sunset clause disappeared. So what we have today...
How many years was the sunset clause?
20 years. Because it was contemplated for women who'd come in through affirmative action and graduate. And many have done so. Many of our women have been nominated either as MPs or women have come in as women reps and then graduated into elective seats. So that was the contemplation. So today, the question is, what is the 2/3? Because our Parliament constituencies are 290. That's what it says. Then it says, then the 47 plus another 12 will also be members. Now, if you take it literally, it would mean 349, isn't it? But in rules of interpreting the Constitution, the 47 are already affirmative seats. So you cannot take affirmative action on affirmative seats, because it will create a constitutional absurdity.
Good argument.
Yes. You can't say we are nominating more on nominated seats.
True.
In simple language.
So we take away the 47 women rep from our math when we're doing the
that has been the argument of some of us. Take it out, then the 12
nominated
of the nominated, if after the election in the 290 we have not made the 2/3, then the 12 must all be women, whether they are youth, PWD, whatever. So if you put 12 plus 47, you get 59. You take out of 290, and then you add to the ones who have been elected amongst the 290. The deficit is around 27, 28. And the best way to cure this, in our view, is to force political parties, because they get public funding, to fill that gap in their safe areas. Yes, political parties can be forced as a condition of funding, that of each political party, you must come in with 2/3. But the parity met. Otherwise, you don't qualify for funding.
And that is such a simple
But also even participating in the election.
Yes. Why are we giving the money?
That's what happened even in the election.
No.
The IEBC was compelling political parties, as you were nominating your candidates around the country, how many of them are of each gender. There was that discussion with the IEBC and saying, political parties, you must, as you give out your nominations for these elective positions, if it's a 290 constituencies, show us how many of these 290 are men, how many are women.
Eric, they may have asked that, but if ODM nominated all its women in Central, is it realistic?
And that's the point, yes.
And if Jubilee nominated
that's what
all their
did.
women in the seats of Nyanza, would it be practical?
That's what they did. They looked at, well, in some areas where we know, for example, Suba North, she's likely to win, we say she's there.
Yeah.
And then the other
and
one
ODM tried to do that. I remember that discussion with the party leader.
Muranga, our candidate.
Actually, most of the MPs, the lady MPs who opinion showed had over 30% were not subjected to nomination.
They got directed.
They got directed.
Yes, because that was. I remember the party leader insisting on that.
The sunset clause.
Yes.
How did it disappear?
Yeah.
I still don't know.
So explain at what point. So after Naivasha, harmonized draft comes to Parliament.
Yes.
And it's discussed. Then the draft now comes to Parliament.
Yes.
It goes to the referendum. It's published. And it goes to the referendum.
Yes.
What we voted for, did it have the 20-year clause?
Yes, that is why you still hear a lot of people.
What we voted for had the 20-year clause.
A lot of people would tell you there's a sunset clause, and then they started looking for it in the Constitution.
Having an argument with some lady MPs this week, just the day before yesterday, telling them there's no sunset clause. It's there.
There's no sunset clause.
Show me in the Constitution.
Yes.
So there's no sunset clause, or there is, or
there's none. But those who participate in the Constitution up to the end believed it was there. So they get very surprised when they don't see it.
Right. So you talked about public participation, 2/3.
We can't just
Mariam, let's go back to sunset clause. But he's saying that it's like it's an enigma.
At government printer.
Yes, that is another. I just like bringing these facts out so the country can digest them.
Wow.
Yeah, I think you're asking what else have we not
which other amendment? Mariam,
no, continue.
Oh, we're going into a break. We have about a minute.
Yes.
But do you want to speak to?
Yes, I'll give you a
she's just like, mbona mnaendelea na hii discussion na kuna sunset clause.
Okay. It's me.
I'll just give you another example. You know, we have the right to picket, demonstrate peaceably, and the rest. But we don't have a law on it. Okay, there are bits and pieces that you will find in Public Order Act, you'll find in the police service, whatever, scattered here and there. But there's no framework legislation on peaceful or peaceable, peaceably. Yeah, there are legal nuances here. Yes, so we need that as well.
Okay.
Yeah, unfortunately, the mood has not been quite right lately. Because if we try to do it now, it will look like we are curtailing what has been going on by the Gen Z.
If you try to bring in a framework.
Yes, and then the way it has been proposed has also not been helpful.
Okay.
So I think in this audit process, it is one of the areas we will look into.
Okay, just still curious to learn a bit more, but let's come back after the break and think through any other amendments. I'm also curious to know if across the continent, if there have been amendments done in various constitutions and whether it's strengthened democracy or whether it has set countries back. I'm curious to learn that, but we'll be right back. It's coming up to 7:30, Fixing the Nation, one conversation at a time.
Yes.
We have a caller on the line just before we sample some feedback. Hamisi from Mombasa. We also heard from him yesterday or the day before yesterday, I believe. Hamisi, good morning. What's your contribution to this conversation today?
To all members in the studio.
Good morning.
My contribution is following up what we discussed the day before yesterday, that the Constitution is 15 years and it needs serious audit. And I can see Mheshimiwa there, he's been mentioning about it. We need to audit quite a number of aspects. But can we start with those that are affecting civic education and citizen participation in all the decisions that we make at the two levels? That is where I said the other time, we missed civic education. There was a budget, but it was not, either it was not enough or it was not used. But now, 15 years later, can we revisit how much are the citizens understanding our constitution and what are the gains and also the challenges that we have had, and what can we do immediately? That is my concern and the concern of very many people. I'm on the ground right now, and many people here, when we discuss about governance or whatever, they seem that they have less information about the Constitution of Kenya 2010.
All right. Hamisi, a quick one we didn't get to ask you yesterday. You said you were, involved in the making of the Constitution. What did you mean? Were you at Bomas? In what capacity?
I was attending at Bomas as the Secretary General of the Association of Local Government Authorities of Kenya. And then I was lucky to be part of the committee of experts. They wanted to add value on those people who have been working in local government. So and then, of course, I was also lucky to be part of the task force that went around the country discussing about the Constitution of Kenya that was being coordinated by the current Chief Minister when he was the Minister for Local Government. We were in that task force which developed the draft laws that are governing the local government.
All right. Thank you so much. And right now, I hear you're still engaging with people on the ground.
Yeah, just for the interest and also because I'm a researcher and I'm interested in local government. So I talk to people. What do you think about this? And then what we're saying is even the roles, the county assembly members, when they are elected, are they inducted in terms of their roles and responsibility to the level where they know that chapter 10, or we are saying about citizen participation and the power of the citizen in Article 1.
Right. All right. Thanks, Hamisi. Let's have Honorable Caroli respond. But thank you so much and for giving us so much insight. I think, like we said, we'll definitely give you a call and we have your number because we need to continue this conversation with you.
Thank you very much, Bwana Hamisi. I'm glad you are still engaged in the process and you are alert. Eternal vigilance is the price of liberty. So I think that is very commendable. But let me give you some assurance and comfort. I took a personal initiative to give life to the heart and soul of our Constitution, which is Article 10. I developed what we call education amendment laws, which is a bill now. And I think when we go back, it will be published because we've gone through the internal processes in Parliament, budget, line committee and everything, to put something in our curriculum from kindergarten all the way to university called nationhood science. Nationhood science is going to talk about national values and principles in our Constitution, so that if we take the value of not being corrupt, the value of integrity, we'll start teaching it to your children at age 3, either by drawings or whatever form in kindergarten, and it will be a compulsory subject, examinable up to or whatever the level is when you join university, but it will also be a mandatory option while at the university. I'll give you an example. Recently, I was with a parent whose son had won an election in school as the school president. And she was very worried. She was very worried because this guy, when campaigning, went and, because everybody has a right to vote in the entire school, he went and promised the younger pupils that if he's elected president, they will have sausages and chips.
They were like,
Is this
so
secondary school
You
This
have
is
my
primary.
vote.
So
You
the
have my
kids,
vote.
the
The
lower
junior
kids,
school kids know.
just remembered him and voted for him and he won. And as soon as he became president, of course they started demanding. Yeah, because he just promised them goodies. And he didn't get the votes of the upper. He got all the lower. So the mother is very concerned.
Bottom up, bottom up, bottom up.
No, that's not what I'm saying.
No, I'm just saying, in that
This is
case.
true.
Yeah.
This is true.
It's
So
a good comparison to use.
So you can imagine if we don't capture them that young and imbibe these values in them. I'll also give you another example. We witnessed this with my friend Ahmed Nasir Abdullah Taliban. When our children, we call him John Wayne. When our children came to us and the school where they were going, and they raised a storm. One of our friends brought his children to that school, and the student said, "No, we can't. Why are you admitting them? Their father has been charged with corruption. So the fees are likely proceeds of corruption." And the kids put their foot down. They said, "No, it can't be. You've been teaching us this. Why is he joining our school?" So what I'm trying to say is there's a lot of value in having this curriculum. We are going to teach our children, and I'm sure, I mean, this has been very well received by members of parliament, by Kenya Curriculum, by Minister of Education, by stakeholders. Soon we will open it to public participation, in the next few weeks. So there'll be a compulsory subject, nationhood science, giving life about the heart and soul of our Constitution.
That would be one of the greatest gifts, honestly, I think, to give children and to just allow them to have that understanding and agency. Paul Maina Stakima Pepe on YouTube is saying, this guest is astute. Please tell us what other things were struck out of the draft. Kumbe hii katiba iliporongwa.
No, that was the only one.
That was the only one.
That was the only
People
one.
Want more
the
details.
compromise on counties was unlawful, rather was irresponsible. It was irresponsible because it was political expediency. You must have heard me at some point saying there should be new counties, 3 new counties, the Subas, the Tesos, and the Kurias. Because if Tharaka Nithi, with 3 constituencies as a county, under the current system, or Taita Taveta with 3, or Lamu with 2, you can't deny these other communities. So that is fairness. Not that I want many counties. I want the argument.
You're just going by, if we
want to go on with the illegality, then let us take it to its logical conclusion.
Then in that case,
that is my argument.
We will split the Tharaka and the Nithi. So we need to split it. The Tharaka
or the Keio Marakwets having their own county. Why are you denying Subas? Subas are more than them. Why are you denying Kurias? Why are you denying Tesos? When we bring this kind of arguments, is to bring people to see the lack of imagination that we had when creating our counties. And the former Prime Minister said there's time now to review that number. I agree with him, because the cost of implementing this constitution has been heavy. Not that reducing the counties will automatically reduce the cost, but it will make them more viable economically.
Tell me, what's your proposal? The former Prime Minister, Raila Odinga, says, okay, he's playing both ways. He does not want to ruffle the political feathers. He says, let's retain the 47, but create a new layer called the regional governments. BBI was doing the same thing. Do you go the same way, 3-tier government, or do you say consolidate the 47 into the original 14?
I'll be honest with you, because this is on public record. If you go to the Hansard, or if you go to our debates in Parliament, you'll see my views on the NADCO report, and my party is part of it. I have a lot of reservations about the NADCO report. One of them is they want to increase the number of parliamentarians to meet the 2/3 gender rule. And as I've explained, that is not...
There's other ways.
There are other ways of achieving it, if we have the proper interpretation of the Constitution. So I don't agree with that. The other thing I don't agree with in NADCO is this idea of what you're now talking about. Let me explain to you. We don't need more levels of government. What we need is consolidation. It will help us fight tribalism. It will help us make use of our resources better. Because if you want to maintain the 47, why are you denying Tesos and Subas and Kurias? Why?
By that logic.
So by that logic, you'll have to increase the 47 instead of reducing. So we have to bite the bullet. This thing of being shy about telling people the truth by politicians and just insisting on it, I think is not doing service to us. Leadership is all about speaking the truth and letting people clearly understand why it is important. Yeah, because these compromises to please for short term, fear of biting the bullet, they don't help.
And in the end, they'll come up. I have a strange question.
I'll give you an example. In my constituency, there are things I don't do that many politicians do.
Gonya.
I don't cook for people.
Okay.
And they have learned that. They've accepted me with that.
They don't wake up.
The day of a party is the day of a party. But that every morning I wake up and I'm cooking for people, I don't do those kind of things. I don't have to attend all funerals. But I will, and when I do, I don't want to be the main center of attention. But I will contribute to support families in all the funerals. 10,000 shillings per funeral. However many there are. But I will not be there because I don't believe that is what the MP should do. So I think leadership, if you want to help your people, lead them towards proper standards. Yes.
Jano, before you ask your question, I just want to get a final one on this one. So Caroli Omondi, no to 47 plus regional governments.
Yes.
Is it yes to the original committee of experts, 14 counties?
I would support 14, plus Nairobi as 15.
Nairobi being this quasi like Washington DC type state or okay.
Yes, I would support that. That was they were the experts. Odhiambo Mbai, Mutaa Kangu. These are experts. They gave us that number. The politicians, there was no legal justification for the 47 other than the fact that there were existing districts by 1992. In fact, Tharaka Nithi was not even on that list. But because people from there were in power, they created it. It was not one of the districts that was existing by 1992. So you see the injustice that I'm talking about. So let's not go back there. Let us just follow what the experts told us. 14 plus Nairobi. Finished.
No, I think I was going to ask, I'm trying to go back in time when this was deliberated and if there was a push to say, you know, Suba and all should be its own county. Was that part of what the back and forth was? I'm just wondering why it wasn't.
Yeah, Suba was on the list.
It was.
It was on the original list. In Kilifi draft, it was there.
Okay.
Suba County was there. Yes.
Okay.
This is interesting.
I know. It's good to know because then I'm just trying to understand it was there and then the process to it not being there.
In fact, it was pushed very ably by then MP Honorable Zadok Siongo.
Then what happened?
This is in the Kilifi draft.
Yes, but because Suba was gazetted as a district in 1996, they went up to 92.
Yeah. When we went back to 2005 referendum, it was proposing these ones and Suba was there. 2010 referendum, after Naivasha, we say we are going up to the districts that were there in 1992.
Yes.
Suba was not.
Was not. Suba was there in 1996.
So that's how they fell off. And we went to the 47.
Yes.
Okay.
No, that's good context and history. You wanted to ask something. I'm still going to go back to the one where amendments have worked, but go ahead and then we can come to that.
As we push.
Yeah.
What do you think is the lowest hanging fruit that we have not implemented? Because when I think of the 2/3 gender rule, you see why the fights are there, unfortunately. But is there any low-hanging fruit constitution that we just, and now I'll do it county and national.
Yeah, there are many. Let me just give you a flavor of the areas we are looking at. One is police reforms, because this is so important to everyone. We've not achieved police reforms, and both internally and in their relationship with the public. Yeah, internally, the service has not been reformed where operational autonomy and command is separated from HR issues. Because the problem...
That's the fight we're having right
if
now,
you talk to senior police officers, they want to maintain the status quo.
Yes.
The majority of the police officers want the constitution fully implemented and the HR functions transferred to the commission. Why? Because if you have a dispute with your boss in the old system, and they accused you of some malfeasance, how do you defend yourself against a command and control system?
Right.
Yeah. So,
as
if you look,
the IG is almost the head of HR.
No. There's misinterpretation. I told you one of the reasons why we want to audit the Constitution is because of misinterpretation.
Okay.
If you look at the Constitution, that article that they are quoting, it's an article that does not give power to the IG. It is an article that shields the IG from interference by, one, the CS in charge of internal security, two, by any other person. It reads, the CS shall give policy directives, yes, but will not interfere with command of the IG. In fact, the heading of that particular article is command of the service. Yes, it is command.
Order and ashika
yes.
huyu.
So they cannot tell you how to run your operations, and then because the IG sits in the commission, which has HR functions, the CS or anybody else cannot go and tell the IG, when you go to the commission, make sure Eric Latif is promoted, or make sure Eric Latif is assigned duties. It is a clause that shields, the IG from interference in his command and control. But it does not give him power. It is not a clause that gives power that he has a HR function.
Okay.
Yes, if you read it. HR functions are clearly within the commission, and that is my reading of it. Yes, but we have invited them as Constitutional Oversight Committee. They will come, they will explain, but it is our duty to give them a proper interpretation and context of the articles of the Constitution.
Okay.
Yes.
That's number one. Police reform.
Police reforms, yes. Judiciary. Judiciary has been reformed very well, and I tell you, we have marvelous judges. If you listen to Justice Odunga, you know, we call him Lord Denning. That was a very great English judge. You Chacha Mwita, the man, the profile of courage, you see. The judiciary is working well. Okay, corruption is creeping. There are areas that we need to deal with. But the biggest failure is the low movement of cases. People are not getting justice in time. Yeah, we are not getting justice in time. Did you know that cases on Anglo-leasing are still being heard?
Yeah.
I mean, this is something they have to deal with. Yeah. If yes, there's a very serious problem. There is another weakness.
They talk about, when you ask them about the case backlog and all, they say, all right, but the capacity of the judiciary. The Constitution and the laws set the number of judges, for example, that are needed for the Court of Appeal. We are way short of those judges. We are way short of the judges that we need for the High Court, and so on and so forth. So they say, if we don't have the resources to actually increase our capacity, we are still going to end up with this problem. A judge says, I am dealing with about 600 cases a year by myself. I've got to listen, I've got to go back and write a judgment for the previous one, and I've got to spend a day listening to cases.
Yeah, that is valid. The numbers are not optimal. But case management, unnecessary adjournments, unnecessary focus on legal technicalities that even the Constitution gives discretion over, indulging lawyers that do not just want to proceed. Those are issues that each judge should deal with. Yes. How come, if you look at trials in England or in other areas, you'll be charged in January, you'll be told your case is in March, and we'll hear you for 5 days non-stop, and after 2 weeks we'll render judgment. Here, witnesses take 2-3 years. They've even forgotten what they were supposed to testify. That they can't blame anybody. So there's a problem there. The other area that the Constitution has not functioned very well is oversight. We have had very weak oversight in terms of counties, national government, or counties. And we need to really, you know, the Office of the Auditor General, is doing excellent. Those ladies, the Controller of Budget, Auditor General, those ladies are doing excellent work. Yes. They need to be shielded. Their offices need to be strengthened. We need to give them more resources. We need to give them higher profile. We need to find ways of implementing recommendations that they give us. And because they do their work, they bring them to Parliament. But what have you ever heard that an indicted permanent secretary has been disciplined on account of the Auditor General's report? No. Why is that so?
Parliament is the problem.
And political influence.
Parliament, there are two ways. Parliament can recommend, we adopt the Auditor General's report. And we say, go investigate this, go and do this. But there are things that we say are supposed to be implemented, they're not being implemented.
In this case, if
Yeah.
the Auditor General, her report says, you know what, MP Mbogwa, I mean, constituency this, that, or county government this, that, there's clearly
questions.
there's questions here. So Parliament adopts the report,
Yes.
forwards the case to the ODPP, or what?
No,
what
no,
next?
we forward to either EACC or DCI or to the executive for implecation. Yes.
Okay.
I can
Yes,
see where.
because we are
the-
not an
gap
investigative
is.
agency.
Then,
Probably, I don't know whether there would be political will, but as a parliament, we could look at public leadership and integrity law and see if somebody has been indicted by parliament. We refuse to give you audience. Next time you show up there.
Caroli, I'll argue that Parliament, when it comes to oversight,
Yes.
Parliament is the weakest link. Because Parliament is the one institution that has the constitutional mandate of oversighting everybody.
Yes.
Oversighting the Auditor General, oversighting the EACC, oversighting the executive, and all the other agencies. So when Parliament takes forever to process reports from the Auditor General, and then quietly hands over a file and says, we recommend further investigation by the EACC, and then does not follow up with the EACC on the progress of this, or with the executive on the progress, then it's Parliament that has failed.
I agree with you, and we have an implementation committee.
Thank you.
Yes.
Case closed.
I agree with you. Absolutely.
Jose is saying every politician would want another county created in their region. Parliament should come up with a formula for de-alienating or merging counties. Scientific factors like population, quota, land size, etc.
Does this formula not exist already, actually?
No, for the nature of counties, not for the merger.
There are principles of devolution that inform the formula.
Okay, to inform the formula.
Yeah.
So looking across Africa or somewhere, where have you seen cases of constitutional amendments strengthen democracy, if any comes to mind?
Oh, in Africa?
Or anywhere, maybe I should say.
Okay. Generally, constitutions are not designed to be amended easily.
That's true.
If they are well thought through. So even our constitution, we are talking of audit, not to amend. Actually, in my view, the only area we should amend are the 47 counties, reduce them to 14. That is all, in my view. The rest are about either weak implementation or non-implementation. So we need to give the constitution the limbs with which to move by enacting the pieces of statutes that we have not enacted. But even if you look at the American Constitution, quite a large, I mean, the amendments that they've had came after a long time, and they've been very far in between. This doctrine of constitutionalism, Africans, we have a problem. If it is not prescribed, we will find a way of getting around it.
Yep.
That is across the entire continent.
Yeah.
Do you know the British don't have a written constitution? They don't, because of their history of monarchy versus republicans. So the monarchs and the ruling classes did not want a written constitution. You remember Magna Carta, you know all those things. But over time, they've developed it by case law, by statute, and they can tell you what their constitution says. But you'll never find a single document saying this is a constitution of the great kingdom of Britain. It's not there. But why is it that in other jurisdictions, even mainly liberal countries in the West, even if it is not prescribed, people will go for the spirit of the Constitution.
Right.
When they are conducting themselves, when they are making some decisions in their position of authority. But in Africa, if you don't prescribe it, that is why our Constitution is...
Even when
is
it's prescribed, you still find
First,
out.
we disobey it when it is prescribed. Now imagine if it is not prescribed.
Yeah.
Yes.
Show me the law.
Yeah.
Yes.
And then
Even
you're
when
shown.
the law
But
is-
we will cure that with nationhood science, I'm telling you. Once we put these values in the young people, in 20, 30 years, in this country that we call Kenya, you will have people who, you try to jump a queue, they will turn, look at you, and you run away.
They've started. Gen Alpha have started.
Yes.
They have.
My
actually.
sons,
And actually,
they'll fix you. They'll be like Rudy.
Yes. And you already can see why the young people
Yeah.
who became teenagers and adults under the 2010 Constitution are so concerned about their country.
Yeah.
That's true.
That is why you see Gen Zs are standing up because of this Constitution. Now imagine in 20 years
how it will
with
be.
a new group.
I feel like he should come and shika mic about nationhood science.
I
Yes,
think
think
so.
so.
I really think,
Yeah.
and just give us
About
an
that
hour
bill.
The bill.
Yes.
and break it down, because I think there's something there.
We have a segment here called Shika Mike. Come share your idea, your big idea on fixing the nation, and we interrogate it. We look at the merits, we figure out demerits, if any. We poke holes, we get calls. So I think you should come and Shika Mike.
No problem. We are on leave.
Fantastic.
Oh, okay.
Fantastic.
Honorable Caroli Omondi, Chairman, Constitutional Implementation Oversight Committee, has been our guest for this last hour. Coming up, Drink and Think. Ian Mutinda, an entrepreneur for Drunken Sessions.
Lectures.
Drunken Lectures. Will come and tell us what that is all about and how it's pushing towards civic education. It's coming up to 8 a.m. Fixing the Nation, one conversation at a time.